Today, let's talk about taxes down here in Florida. How do we really compare to other states regarding all of these horrible taxes that we have? And also a little bit about the home exemption tax. I found out some interesting things from a friend of mine that I had no idea about. I don't want to see you make the same mistakes I did. Let's go ahead and get started. Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Rusty Nelson down here in the Villages, Florida. But today's video actually has to do with anybody that's buying, selling a home in Florida, and some of the things that I just learned out yesterday. That I just learned yesterday from a friend of mine about buying, selling homes in Florida, and we'll touch a little bit on coming to Florida if you're coming here new, and I'll show you a video to watch. But anyway, thank you so much for subscribing. I really appreciate it. I'll put the QR code up there. You can just use that on your phone or whatever to go ahead and subscribe. Appreciate it. And thanks for liking this. You know, if it does something for you, if it makes you happy, if you can just go just a little extra way and push that like button, it helps out a lot. Also, comments. I look at every comment before it goes out. So, if you're going to say something stupid, nobody's going to see it. I'll see it. You can say all the stupid things you want. I'll see it, but it'll absolutely disappear, get vaporized before I let it go out there. I mean, I can't deal with that kind of stuff. But anyway, today I've covered this subject about homesteading extensively and taxes, and I'll put the videos up here or video that covers that. I'm not going to go that deep into it, but if you are moving to Florida, moving within Florida, or thinking about moving to Florida, especially if you're moving into the Villages, you want to watch these videos, and I'll put the links down below for you. But here we're going to touch a little bit on the Homestead Exemption and when you actually have to file by. And then there is an additional add-on to that I'm going to tell you about that I knew nothing about, whether you're downsizing or upsizing or whatever your home, how you can carry that homestead exemption and the appropriate value of your home onto your next home. So it's kind of important. Anyway, let's get started with a comment that somebody wrote, and this actually has to do with how we compare as far as taxes and stuff here in Florida, because we kind of get, I get notes all the time from people that say, oh, there's so many taxes and all the bonds and stuff like that, and they just don't understand how things work. But we're going to take a quick look at that. Also, if you want to learn about bonds and taxes, watch the video that I did on the bonds, taxes, CDD, and how things work around here. You really need to understand that if you want to live here. So just do that. I do want to talk about one thing, and this is a little bit of philosophy, so that we have this laid out before we even get started. And this is a concept I think that people don't understand. We live in the Villages, and there's many places now in Florida that have copied this. And it was originally copied from Disney when he built the America Town Celebration, whatever that was down there. They realized that they needed a new type of government to deal with certain things. So what they did was, if you go back into the old days, selling land to somebody, they would say, we're going to build this great area for you to live in. And once everybody gets moved in here, we'll have money and we'll be able to create the clubhouses and all this type of thing. Well, a new way was developed some time ago, and it's called a CDD. And basically what that is, we need to get one thing straight. You are not going to get anything free from a developer or a home builder. You're going to pay for it somehow, right? So what they did originally, as far as building here goes, in a lot of places in Florida, they said, we will take out a bond and we will build out the infrastructure. And so that you come and buy here, we're going to already start building the clubhouses, the tennis courts, the pools, and start to put in all that infrastructure so that when you move here, most of that or all of it is done before you get here. And to do that, when you move into your home, part of the purchase of your home is going to have a bond attached to it to build that infrastructure. Now, the opposite end of that is if they hadn't have done that way and they had just included it in the price of the home, you still have to pay for it anyway. But this way, there's a bond attached to your home. And I explained that all in the other video, get in depth to it about whether you can pay it off or not pay it off, whether you do want to pay it off. Just so we know that you're going to pay for that infrastructure and everything. So let's take a look at how Florida compares and kind of briefly go over some of the taxes so you understand that. And also understand, I am not an accountant. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a professional in this field. I just like to pass along things that I've learned to you. I'm just another knucklehead here on YouTube, but it's definitely food for thought. So let's go ahead and get started on this. All right, here we go. This will be kind of fun because I get these kind of statements. I'm going to read this statement all the time. And a lot of them are from what we call trolls. And they just troll around and write negative stuff. Now, I went out and looked at this guy's stuff out on the internet that he had written or she had written. And they're all negative. You know, they're just plots around different places. But I'm going to use it because this is the one that most recently came up. And I get these all the time about how horrible taxes are and everything. So I thought it'd be really fun just to go out and look at a few websites and check out exactly how Florida compares to those other states. Because if you want to move into Florida, you're going to kind of want to know these things. And then we'll answer a couple of questions and we'll look at that homestead exemption that I was talking about. Especially this applies to people that are buying homes and selling homes within Florida. And you definitely want to pay attention to this because I had no idea this. So first of all, this is what BX writes. This video that this person is referencing was talking about how in November we're going to come up for a vote on an amendment to the homesteading value of your home and that it should follow along with the core inflation rate or something like that. And so I thought it was kind of important that they're going to adjust that. So you may want to go watch that video. But anyway, all adjustments are teacups in the ocean. I'm not quite sure how that applies to it, but maybe you want to put that in the comments how that applies to this. The taxes are now high. The homeowner's insurance high. The villages are the last place I would buy in America today. Probably this person is either one of the people that just hates the villages and they're not even sure why, but most of the time these people, I look around, they don't live anywhere near the villages or they've never been here. You want warm? It would be the Carolinas. So what I'm going to do just for fun, we're going to look and see how correct this person is, and you make your own judgment. Let me know in the comments. We're going to look at the Carolinas, how they compare. We're going to look at a bunch of different charts, and we're going to look about where I came from. I live mostly in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and California. So let's kind of jump in this. We'll rifle through them really quick and not dwell on it. If you want to look at the rates, you can stop it and look at the charts. So let's jump over to the charts. Most of what I'm looking at comes from the Tax Foundation. And if you think about it, some of the big things that you may want to concern yourself with, the big elephants in the room, is personal income tax, right? How much you're taxed on your personal income, and property tax. Those are two big elephants. Also, if you're retired, we're going to look at all this, how things look, kind of state by state, how you're retired, and basically the overall burden on your income. Now, I've used a couple of charts on some of these because they use different things to figure it out. But the important thing is just to kind of look at the relationship. And then right at the end of this, I'll actually show you, since he referenced how much the insurance is going up, I will show you my actual insurance bill. So let's check this out. This is the state individual income tax rate. And let's just go look right away. We'll take a look at some of these. Now, this is 22, so state individual income tax structures. States with no income tax. Well, looky there, because Florida right here has 0 income tax, which means you're not going to pay any tax on any of your income. There you go. And for me, this is states with a flat income tax. I know Pennsylvania, where I just came from, has a 3%. So think about it. All of my income that I had, 3% of it, a little over 3%, was automatically taxed. And so this person, I'm just going to say gentleman guy because I just have a feeling it's a guy. But anyway, North Carolina, it has a flat income tax, and we'll see how that affects. And if we try to find South Carolina, see how that goes. So South Carolina has a graduated income tax. And where did I live in? California. California had a graduated income tax. Michigan had a flat income tax. So there you go. Now here's an actual chart. If we take a look at it, let's compare Florida to South Carolina and North Carolina, the Carolinas that you said to move to. How high are individual income tax rates in your state? Well, in North Carolina, if we moved there just to keep warm, it would have cost us 5%. And South Carolina would be 7%. And look there. Florida is 0. So far we're doing pretty good on individual income tax. Now you have to remember that some of these are graduated, but California, where I was at before, was 13.3. That's a graduated income tax. And Michigan, I think we said is flat tax, 4%. How high are property taxes in your state? Now, one thing you have to remember is that with property tax, you have to kind of include local tax also, and that type of thing. And if you look down here and right, it says total property tax paid is a percentage of the total property tax paid of owner-occupied housing. So this is not going to include rentals and that type of thing. It's just taking the taxes from people that actually live in the homes. Now, big things to consider. Let's look at Florida, first of all, 0.9%. And I think they generally say if you take about 1% or so, 1.1, 1.2%, somewhere around there when you include all the local stuff. Well, South Carolina, and that, if you look at it's number 26 out of all the states, so about halfway in the middle. If you look at South Carolina, the property tax, now don't forget you've already paid income tax on some of this stuff. Now they're going to get you for property tax, which is 0.57, and North Carolina is 0.82. So South Carolina is pretty good. Look up at Pennsylvania, boy, I'll tell you what, 1.5%. So where I came from up there. And in California, it's all the way over there on the West Coast, the left coast, it's 0.75. Here's something to really consider. If you bought the same size house, when I was looking at houses 10 years ago in California, same size house I'm in right now would easily be twice as much as what it was here. So if you think about California being around 0.75 and Florida 0.91, it costs a lot more to buy a home in California. So that person that bought a house for $500,000 here in Florida would probably pay 1 to 1.3 or so, depending on where it is, obviously, in California. Something definitely to consider when you think about properties. House Social Security, because a lot of people are retired, so they want to know, being retired, how your property tax or your income, which a lot of people obviously have Social Security income, how that's going to be taxed. Well, looky here, North Carolina and South Carolina, they do not include Social Security benefits as an income. That's great. That's cool. Have you seen most states in blue and gray do not include it? Neither does Pennsylvania, Michigan, or California. So there's no income tax. So let's take a look at the total tax burden. It says state, local tax burden by state. calendar year 2022. So the total tax burden is a little over 9%. So that's number 11 in Florida. In North Carolina and South Carolina, it's almost 10% in North Carolina and 9% in South Carolina. Look at California is 13.5%. And Michigan is 8.5%, 9% almost. Pennsylvania is 10%. Really, if you look at Florida, using this, we're not too bad off. Here's another tax burden. Now, this is percentage of income paid towards state and local taxes. So this is a tax burden with income as part of it. Florida, if you look all the way up the top, the lighter the color, the better the tax burden, or the less money you're going to pay. Florida is 6.1%. North Carolina, 8%, South Carolina 7.5%. So right there, you're saving at least a percentage or two. Pennsylvania, I was paying over 2% more. New York which is just a mess, 12%, and California is 10.4%. So right now, this gentleman that wrote this, as I said, I use generically gentleman. Really, it's not making any sense right now. The big thing that a lot of us are concerned about, especially down here in the villages, and there's a lot of retirees in Florida, is how things go by as far as state goes for retirees. So let's take a look at this right here. If you look down on the right, it says most tax-friendly states for retirees. Florida is one of them. The darker kind of greenish, bluish color is favorable, and red states are least tax-friendly towards retirees. And so North Carolina, South Carolina, middle of the road. Now, let's take a look at this right here. This is just color-wise, a view of retirement tax friendliness for each state. Florida is one of the darker color, which is very tax-friendly, which is kind of nice. North Carolina and South Carolina are tax-friendly or moderate tax-friendly. California is absolutely hideous, and Pennsylvania is tax-friendly. You can say whatever you want, but I don't see North Carolina and South Carolina being very friendly as far as taxes. My good old Michigan was about middle of the road, kind of, and California is just about hideous, along with New York, New Jersey, and a lot of the New England states up there. You make your own decisions. Put that in the comments what you think about whether the taxes look pretty friendly here in Florida or just kind of the middle of the road. The other thing I get a lot of is about insurance. Now, I have no idea what other people's insurance is like, but this is my third year here, so you're going to take a look. I'm going to show you exactly what I pay for my homeowner's insurance. I know people are going to ask where is my home? Who do I have it with? It's with USAA. So here is my exact coverage for this year, and this was taken the time that I shot it, so this is my third year here. And as you can see, it's about $1,000 a year. If you want to take a look at all the details, you can stop the camera, but there's about $34 of the increase. It says your premium increased by a total of $78, and $35 or $34 of it was because of me, and $45 was basically an increase. So there's not much of an increase there, that's for sure, considering especially how much inflation, our inflation has gone up over the last few years. So that's it. Really interested in what you guys see as far as insurance goes, because you can't say that your insurance went up like so much and so much, because if you got a home that has a roof that is approaching 15 years old or whatever that magic number is, it's going to increase a lot more than mine is. So anyway, next, let's take a look at the homeowner's exemption and exactly how you can hang on to the benefits that you had if you're buying or selling a home. Because, here in Florida, this pertains especially basically to Florida, people buying, selling in Florida. People in the villages, believe it or not, actually, on average, will buy into a new home every 3 years. And what I'm about ready to show you has to do with, as you move from home to home, how you can carry that original homeowner's exemption along with you and the value of your home, whether you increase value or decrease value. Home exemptions, tax exemptions. You need to look this up by county. And I'm just going to do this with Sumter County because most of the villages lies within Sumter County at the time. It's slowly changing, but because it's growing so fast. But we're talking about home exemption. Now, watch this video right here. I'm telling you, I'm not going to go through and explain all this because it's in the video. If you ask questions about it, I'm just going to refer you to the video anyway. So you might as well just go to that video afterwards. I'll put the link down below. Basically, a home exemption is that it's to reduce the value, the taxed value of your home by a certain amount. And I have all the rules and regulations for that. You can, when you watch the other video, you'll see it. But it reduces by a certain amount. In essence, it's around $50,000 right now. And one of the things when you homestead is that your home will be locked in at a certain value where it is taxed. And if you homestead, that value will not increase more than 3%. Now, don't be a dummy like I was. I waited a year and kept my primary residence up in Pennsylvania. And within that 1 year, when everything was going crazy with the housing down here, the value of my house went up $100,000. So now, because it went up $100,000 and I waited, I'm paying tax on that $100,000 for the rest of my life. And unless some magical way it goes down, which I kind of hope not. Don't be a dummy like me. Now, here's the thing is, if we go back to that saying of homes, people buying and selling homes, your primary residence within the villages, some people do it 3 times. When you first file your homestead, that, let's say you buy a house for $400,000 and that's what they're going to tax you on. Usually it's about 90% of that or so. That's what they're going to tax you on. But let's just round it off, $400,000. The price goes up to $100,000 the next year. So you made $100,000 on your house. The most that they could raise it is 3% on that. But what happens if 3 years down the road, your home is all of a sudden, you decide you want to move into a bigger home or a smaller home? It doesn't make any difference. The question is can you take that original value, the $400,000, and benefit from that when you purchase a new home? And the answer is yes. And it is called the home, I'm going to read it right off of here, the Homestead Exemption Portability, and we'll look at it. Let's just jump over and look at it. So in other words, you have to file for this. And I believe it's 2 years. Don't quote me on that. But you have 2 years from the time it happens to file that. And what that does is allow you to incorporate that lower value and bring it over to your new home. And it works whether you increase the value or decrease the value of your new home. Something to keep. But here is the tax for, this is for Sumter County. And if you look, all of these exemptions right here apply to deductions that you can deduct off of your home. So you get disabled veterans, people for the blind, exemptions for permanent disabilities, religious, blah, 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 on and on and on. But right at the top is the home exemption, and I go over this in the other video, and that explains part of it. But right below it is the portability. And each applicant will have to fill out a form DR 501T, transfer of homestead assessment difference. That's it. You need to go over to your county's website and you have to fill that out. My suggestion is, if your real estate agent doesn't tell you to do this, you probably got the wrong real estate agent, because they should really, I would think, back you up on this and have one of those forms to fill out. But in any case, you have to do it. And that's why I'm saying this. The deadline for your home exemption, I'll tell you right now, this is September, October of 24. The main deadline for home exemptions is March, and you need to do that because that's for the next year. It's not for that year. So if you fill it out in 25, it doesn't start kicking in until 26. So that's why I'm saying me delaying a year actually cost me almost 2 years in delay, and my house accelerated in value during that time. Also, last but not least, this person wrote, do you have to homestead yearly or only one time? And I figure I might as well answer this question while we're here. You only need to do it one time unless you sell your home. Then you need to drag that over again and reapply. So there you go. That's it. Covered a lot of stuff. I hope you found that interesting about taxes, so you can tell your friends or whoever, go check out this video. You feel free to post it wherever you want, that type of thing. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. And always, if you feel like this helped you out at all, you found it interesting, please subscribe and like it. That liking helps out a lot. And I'll be really interested to hear what people say about their experiences as far as their home insurance. Oh, I forgot to say, my flood insurance is about $500 a year, I think, if I didn't say that. And that's about it. I may not even continue my flood insurance for next year. I'm in a pretty good situated area right where I am. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed it and found it a little bit interesting. And I hope some people get helped out by their taxes. Like I always say, I'll either see you here on YouTube or I'll see you down here in the villages. Stop and say hello. Have a wonderful day.